A Rembrandt in the attic is any untapped or unnoticed opportunity inside a business that, once discovered and leveraged, can produce massive results. Most business owners are too close to their own operations. They don't see the Rembrandt because to them, it's just an old painting gathering dust. This isn't magic. It's not a gimmick. It's a system. A repeatable, strategic process of unlocking your hidden value and showing it to the world in a way that makes people want to buy from you. You already have everything you need. You simply need to turn it into something that works for you 24/7, building trust, driving leads, and elevating your position far above your competitors.
Hi, it's Ron Sheetz, and welcome to another episode of Uncovering the Rembrandts in Your Attic. If you've seen these before, you know Rembrandt specifically is a metaphor for anything that you haven't tapped into in your business. It's really an opportunity for you to pull out an asset that you already have in your business that's undervalued or being not used. And you will find that when you use it, leverage it, it can produce massive results. Most business owners are too close to the forest to see the trees, for example, and they don't know that these Rembrandts are actually there because they see them all the time, and to them, they're just an old painting gathering dust. So we're going to dig into probably the core fundamental Rembrandt that I think a lot of people are not aware of, and I have with me Brana Williams. Thank you, Brana, for joining us on this.
I'm so excited to be here.
So Brana is in the Lead Hunters book. If you don't already have it, go to Amazon and get it. I don't know if you noticed it, Brana, but you're like literally the first chapter that really starts digging into stuff.
I know. It's exciting.
There's an introduction from Dan Kennedy, and then I do a couple of chapters on setting the stage. But I intentionally put Brana's chapter first in the book. So her chapter is titled The Velvet Prison, which ought to catch your attention first and foremost. It says why your marketing won't work until you know who you really are. And if there's anybody that I've ever met who discovered who they really are, it's this lady. And we're going to talk about that. So, Brana, why don't you tell the audience a little bit about yourself, what you do, because I think that may surprise people, what your two professions are, and now your final, as you grow up, what you really want to do.
Well, great. All right. So, as I say, what I do for a living on a daily basis right now is I am a practicing attorney. I have a full-time practice in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. We do family law. On the weekends and part-time, I am a municipal judge. I grew up on a tobacco farm, the first in my family to actually, really kind of go to school, certainly the only one to go get a graduate degree, having no idea what I was doing. And, I kind of knew from the beginning I didn't want to do that. But, that... when I say the thing about the Velvet Prison, I mean, think about it. Lawyers are what they watch on TV. You watch doctor shows, you watch lawyer shows. I say people want to grow up and be a doctor, lawyer, Indian chief. That's what you're supposed to do. And, I have this fabulous practice. I really am successful. God has been very good to me. But what I really want to do is I want to be on stage. I want to speak, and then I want to help people actually uncover to not be afraid to be who they really are, because I've spent my career kind of doing that. Like I've known that wasn't what I wanted to do, but I was trapped inside of it. You get the trappings of success and then you're almost stuck.
Yeah. Not almost, you actually are.
Well, yeah, you are. Yeah.
Why don't
you got bills, you got obligations, you have things. You can't just, walk up one day and say, shoot, I'm not doing this anymore. Cause you got stuff you got to do.
Yeah. It goes deeper than just that. Because you talk about in your chapter and in your book, which I'll point out, Brana's just released a new book. It says, Should You Smile in Your Booking Photo. We've changed the name to Should You Smile in Your Mugshot because it's more visceral. But this is really Brana's story of her life and how she went from as she said, tobacco farmer's daughter to being a successful attorney, and to let the genie out of the bottle, not really being happy all the way along the line. So, why don't you unpack that for people a bit so that they can identify with not only your story, but also the fact that your story is their story? What does it mean by breaking out of the velvet prison?
Well, I'll give you a for instance. My first year of law school, going into law school, graduating from college, going into it, I was the South Carolina watermelon queen. I know, really. Okay, it's kind of like funny. Okay, but I really was. Like, I mean, it was a beauty pageant, but we also did have a seed spitting contest, which I won, by the way. 18.3 feet, by God. But I go into law school, and like the day I walked in, I knew with every fiber in my being I didn't want to be there. But I was there, and I called my mama and I said, "Please come get me." And she said, "Oh, honey, you just feel bad because I had a cold. You don't know anybody. It's different. It'll be fine. So you do it. You don't quit. Farmers don't quit." So we stuck it out. You start school 2 weeks before, in the middle of August. Well, over Labor Day weekend, there was the Jerry Lewis telethon. So my first Labor Day in law school, there was a telethon, and I had to be the watermelon queen. So on that weekend, I went and turned the numbers as they were raising money in Columbia, like Vanna White does on the Wheel of Fortune thing.
Yeah.
That's what I did. All right. So I go back to class. God knows I didn't think anybody would know. And I go in there, and there's 100+ people in my property class. And the professor starts going on this thing about, y'all had no idea we had a celebrity in amongst our midst, and goes on and on and on. And about this time, he says, we have our very own watermelon queen, right? And I'm going, oh my God. I died. I literally died in my seat. And because it was bad enough. Like I said, everybody there's their daddy was a lawyer, their daddy mama was a lawyer, their daddy was a doctor, their mama was a lawyer. I grew up on a tobacco farm, right? So
Yeah.
and then I have this twang, and just it was awkward. But the funny thing is, I don't know, gosh, I'd been out of law school 20 years, and my property professor was now the dean of law school. And I had to call him about a question. And I said, "Hey, Professor Wilcox, this is Brana Williams. I have a question for you." And he said, "Hey, my watermelon queen, how are you?" So the funny thing is, what I was so horrified about was actually a really cool thing to everybody else, you know? But it took me years and years to realize that and to accept it.
Yeah.
So, and I think that's the thing that people don't realize, is that our quirks are actually our strengths,
Yeah.
you know?
You say in the book, so there's a headline in your book, and in your chapter, it says the strategy. It says identity before tactics. It says that your turning point wasn't a marketing breakthrough. Tell us about the hot pink heels in court. You said that wasn't about fashion. So it's kind of along the line of the watermelon story. But tell us about that turning point for you.
So what happened was, as I go through school and I'm practicing, and I'm just busying along with my career and my life, I realized that, I mean, I'm doing the lawyer thing. All lawyers are expected to, you're in a male-dominated field.
Yeah.
You're supposed to be wearing blue. I'm a trial lawyer, by the way. I'm in court. I'm in criminal court. I'm in trials like you see on TV, okay? So I'm wearing gray. I'm wearing blue. I'm wearing pearls. But I don't wear just plain pearls anymore. I wear these little fancy power pearls. I don't have them on today, but I do. And but I go into court that one time, and it was one of the trials I had, and like my dude was facing kidnapping. He was facing 25 years. He had armed robbery charges. He had kidnapping charges. I mean, he had a litany of just major charges, and we really didn't have any defense. And I was like, you know what, we just gonna go try for this. So I wore like a black and white polka dot dress and hot pink heels. That's what I wore. And then when I did my closing argument, I pulled out a hot pink piece of paper because I wanted it to match my heels. And as we discussed reasonable doubt, that's what I used. And the funny thing is, we actually got a hung jury, because I think everybody realized I settled into being me. It was about being you and convincing the jury and letting them know you're really being authentic about who you are. And, I didn't think the state had that great of a case, but I won.
Yeah.
At least I got a hung jury, which is a win in a criminal trial. But
Yeah, it is. It is. Yeah, it's
it's a
you
win.
You say you stopped hiding and conversations changed, opportunities appear. So can you give us another example of that in particular happening in your life once you broke out of the velvet prison as you identify it, became true to yourself?
Well, my marketing in my law firm is a reflection of that. Like my marketing is about we do what we want to do in my law firm. Like when you look at us, we decided that it was going to be we are very casual, we're comfortable, we're welcoming. Um, we're very much about the parent, right? And so that's who we know. And the funny thing is, it's like when people talk about me, they talk about me as is I'm very aggressive, but I swear I'm not. I really am like a nice little sweet kitten. I'm really not unless I have to be. But it's the personality coming through. I mean, people always say that they know I genuinely care. I tell them what they need to know, whether they want to hear it or not. And that's what I finally realized is you just got to be upfront and kind of be who and what you are. That's what I found.
But we're living in a time of social media where people they're living those lives online, but they're not actually living those lives. It's kind of a duality. And what do you tell people? Because this is a hard thing to break out of. Because, like you said, I'm an attorney. I wear black. I have so you're living up to the expectations or the perceptions that people have of whatever you're supposed to be. How do you tell people that they got to let that go? I mean, it's hard to do because perception is reality, and they're creating a perception that they think is what everybody expect them to be. I mean, how do you help somebody break that?
Well, I think there are a couple of ways that I tell people to advise, like when we do like little workshops. Like one exercise I had to do one time going into a workshop was like call the top, say like your top five biggest fans, right? And I say that whether it's your clients, whether it's your customers, whether it's your friends, if you ask them what they really like about you or what they appreciated most about what you did for them or something of that nature, you'll be very surprised to hear what it is. That's the strangest thing. It's kind of what you don't expect it to be. And so what I always try to get people to encourage people to do is um, you have to realize what you want, what you think is the best, not what you think other people think is the best. you know Sometimes we act by what we think other people expect, not by what we expect. Okay.
Mhm.
And then I go a step farther in what we're doing, and some of my things that I try to help people do is actually, when I say it is your 7 seconds, it's the energy you show up in. Like I joke about the power pearls and that, but you know what? It makes a difference. When you like are slouchy, and it's not about being in the highest fashion or being trendy, or it's all just about, oh my gosh, my hair's curled and my makeup's fixed. It's about, am I dressed so that I feel like I am my best and I am reflective of who I am, right?
Yeah.
Like I don't wear plain back suits and plain stuff. If I am, there's a pop of color to it. I wear sequin skirts to court, right? I'll do things when they walk in my office. God knows what you might see. Um, but, I think you have to dress the way you feel most comfortable and confident in. That is, of course, appropriate for the situation. But when you feel good, you show up good. And I think when your energy comes off, it's apparent. The studies show that people judge everybody within 7 seconds, and over 90% of it is nonverbal.
Mhm.
It's how you hold yourself. It's how you're dressed, how you're groomed, uh, how your mannerism is, not necessarily what you say.
Yeah.
And I think that's important for everybody to understand how critical it is. And therefore, when you're going in to do something really important, I think it's real important to take a moment and gather that self together. But if you start out at the beginning of the day, for instance, just dressed like in your best colors. Like, if you look good in red, wear red. If you like black, then wear black. If that's not, that's fine. You look good in it, you'll feel better, you will project better. Once you project better, it comes back better.
Yeah. Yeah. Is it energy? Is it more than energy?
I think it's a combination of all of it. I do think it's energy, and I think it comes from the inside out. I think there's a physical presence. I think there is an energetic presence that has to be made. Um, and then I believe like there's an inner confidence that you just got to have. And you also have to realize that, yeah, it's not easy necessarily doing what you think is right because not everybody's going to agree. And as much as we want to say we don't need everybody to like us, we do want people to like us.
Yeah.
It's hard to know that somebody doesn't like you.
Well, let's explore that a little bit. So the people not liking you, is there a is there a problem with having people not like you? I mean, I
No,
get.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, is it? It's not a popularity contest from this perspective that you're talking about. Is somebody being comfortable with themselves? You work with business people in order to become more successful, and what you share and what you teach them is different than anything anybody else teaches them because it's not just putting on the red. It is exuding out that power. So, is it okay if there are people that we don't connect with and piss off?
Well, I think that's absolutely the goal, quite frankly, because the reality of it is the best marketing is the repelling marketing. And for me, like in my business, I know which clients I like and which clients I don't, right? I'm in a position and I worked hard to get my business in a position where I choose who I want to have as my clients. And I want my folks that I work with to be in that same position. You know who you gel with. And you want to attract like people because like people do well and they work together well and the energy then feeds on itself and they both help each other out. And so that's exactly what you want. You want to put out your energy and your vibes and your authenticity, even though that word's so overused, but you really do want to put your real self out there so the people who see that and who like that are drawn to you.
Yeah,
If you put something fake out there, then you're drawing the people that like that fakeness.
right.
And then what's your life going to be like when that's who you got to work with?
Yep, yep, yep. We have in the law space here in Cleveland, Ohio, where I'm at, there's an attorney that does a lot of advertising, and he looks like this big, ominous fighter. I mean, the kind of guy you like cross the street to avoid if you saw him. And not that it just has that aura about him. And his advertising is brilliant. He does a lot of billboards, he does a lot of radio, a lot of television, and he's a personal injury attorney. So his message is real simple. It's I will make them pay. That's his message. And it immediately attracts that person. And let's face it, that's what everybody wants, and they're looking for a personal injury lawyer. Now, along your line and what you do, you've told me about a billboard. You've done billboards. there's a particular billboard in regard to a ring. So just to give
Oh, I love it.
so,
Yeah, I
so
did.
so tell us about that billboard because I want it to be to demonstrate that being authentic and attracting and repelling at the same time.
So the billboard I did to begin with, it has a I and the O is an engagement ring. It was a solid blue board. My law firm is named Indigo Family Law, so my billboard is blue. It's a pretty bright blue color. The solid blue billboard. Then there was an I, there was an O, but the O was the diamond ring, and then the P and an S. The P was it was an O, a second O. I got to spell it right. It was just OOPS. I got to spell. I can't spell today. There was an engagement ring, a wedding band, a P and a S, and it just said "Oops." That's all it said,
but but
and it
that
was great.
yeah, that immediately communicates authenticity of who you represent. you know, who were you targeting with that?
I wanted people who really were just done, who had a good sense of humor, who understood that, that this is where I'm at, where I'm going to do, where I'm going, but they have a sense of humor and had a little bit of, I mean, I was going to say smart assy about them. I did the second billboard I did is all it says is I do, I did, I'm done. I did that one.
You know,
Just, just simple. And then I had our logo in the corner because I want people to come in. Like my best clients are clients who are, fairly smart, fairly sophisticated in the sense that they have a kind of a wicked sense of humor
yeah,
is what I like and
yeah,
what we like.
yeah, and they're comfortable immediately with your personality because it matches their personality, and if it doesn't, you're repelling them. Um,
Correct.
so you talked a little bit about the 7 seconds, and I think it's one of the things that you do that's brilliant, and it's commanding the room in 7 seconds or less. Um, why is that important? And you said it's a lot. A lot of it has to do with nonverbal, but when you walk into a courtroom in your polka dotted dress and your pink heels and so forth, that's what we in marketing call pattern interrupt, but you're commanding a room. Why is it important for everybody to command a room? When I say command, I'm not saying you like take over the room as you're doing in this sense, but why is it important whether it's an individual who's walking into um, their 25-year class reunion and they were the wallflower at prom? Why is it important for people to be able to command a room in the sense of command being I'm comfortable where I'm at? Why is that important for everybody from an individual to a business owner?
Because your first impression is just that. And it is a repeated first impression. Like if I haven't seen you in a long time, the first time I see you again is that first impression. And first impressions are very, very, very hard to change. They're changeable, but they're very difficult to change. And our subconscious and our subpsyche makes a decision. And what I believe is that exactly that. People judge, and quite frankly, I think I should be in charge of what people are judging about me as opposed to letting them decide. Because 9 times out of 10, 9.5 times out of 10, they're going to decide wrong. And so I think I should be in charge of it to what I want them to be thinking.
Yeah, there's the writer downer for everybody is that you be in charge of what people think or how they view you rather than leaving it to chance and then them making the determination. And part of that
Because
is
they will.
yeah, and part of that is I like you or I don't like you. And regardless of what we have in a society of equity and equality and all that, we're not the same, and we're not going to be attracted by everybody. And now I'm standing on the soapbox. So, um, if you haven't gotten the book, it's Lead Hunters. Go to Amazon, get it. Brana's chapter is in here. It's a chapter. I put it in the book first for a very important reason because, as you stated here, you have to know who you really are, but you also have to know who you really aren't for in order to be able to make a difference. So, you have how do people find out more about you? You offer assessment programs, audits,
Yes.
personality audits.
Yes.
You have a lot of stuff available to people. How do they find out more about you? Where do they go?
They can go to my website, which is branawilliams.com, Brana Williams.com. They can find me there, and you can set up an appointment. It's got my phone numbers. You can call me. I'm on TikTok. I'm on LinkedIn. I'm on Facebook. It's all under Brana Williams. You can find me. I'd love to talk to you because, yeah, we didn't talk about it because I got rambling. But not only is it important to know who you are, it's important to know who you're not.
Yeah,
Because I think that's very, very critical.
yeah, yeah. And you do. I hate to use the term. You do a personality audit, but it's what does it what will somebody find out or what will they know about themselves after they go through this with you?
What I like to say is you're going to walk away with your 12 words. You're going to know your like your 3 words you are, 3 words you're not, in who you are, what you stand for, what you don't stand for. You're going to know your style. You got an idea of what it is, how you want to present yourself. Because I think, and that's the other part of it is the consistency. Because I think you got to know who you are, and then you realize one of the key factors in marketing is consistency. Because your clients and your customers have to know who they're dealing with, and if you always show up the same way, it matters to them.
Yeah, yeah. And you have something that you make available to people that you use, that you follow. You probably do it without having to actually read it from the paper, but you have something that you offer people as a checklist. You want to give them that web address so they can go and get your checklist?
Yeah.
It's ownyourgenius.net.
Yes,
Ownyourgenius.net.
ownyourgenius.net. And it's a 7-second checklist, and it's just a moment of it's a little tidbits about what you do. If you've got something important coming up, to just take a second, ground yourself, and then you go sparkle on.
There you go. There's a key. Sparkle on. So, all right. Any closing wisdom, anything I haven't asked that I should have asked before we wrap this up?
No, I just think that it's critical I think that the reason I was so appreciative that you put it first is because I really do think before you start your marketing, before you start building your outer brand, and before you start building all your colors and your logos and all those things, is I think you have to have a very grounded idea of who you are, what you want, and what you don't want,
Wise.
and build from that.
Very wise, which is exactly why I put it up front in the book so that you have a clear definition, because everything else builds upon that. And that's something that I teach in marketing with businesses. So, Brana, thank you very much for joining me. I appreciate you taking the time. You're sitting outside in the Myrtle Beach, North Carolina area, or South Carolina area, and it's South Carolina, and it looks nice.
It's beautiful today.
Unlike what we have here in Cleveland, which is warm and gloomy. So thank you very much for joining us from outside and bringing some of your sunshine to this. Thank you.
Thank you.
This has been another episode of Uncovering the Rembrandts in the Attic. I'll see you on the next episode. Thank you very much for joining us.
Every business owner says the same thing. If I could just get more qualified leads, my business would grow. So many businesses today are solely dependent on digitally generated leads. I wrote the book Lead Hunters to offer entrepreneurs alternative methods to generating leads. I asked some of my trusted friends to contribute their go-to lead generation strategies. Now, I'm transforming the book into a live event, announcing Lead Hunters Summit Live. For 2 powerful days in Cleveland, Ohio, entrepreneurs and business owners from across the country will come together to discover the battle-tested lead generation strategies that are working right now. Not theory, not recycled internet tactics, real-world methods being used every day to generate leads, clients, growth, and profit. You'll hear directly from me and many of the contributing Lead Hunter authors and special guests as we break down the exact strategies we use in our own businesses and how you can implement them immediately. If you want more leads, better clients, and predictable business growth, join us October 22nd and 23rd in Cleveland, Ohio for Lead Hunters Summit Live. Stop chasing leads. Make buyers find you. Registration for Lead Hunters Summit Live will be $1,980 per person. When the official registration website launches on August 1st, attendees will have access to a special buy one, get one, and on top of that, 50% off offer, bringing the investment to $990 for 2. That's you and a guest. However, there is a much better offer available to you right now if you take immediate action. For a limited time, you can secure your seat through early bird registration for just $395 per person. That's a savings of 75% off the regular registration price. In addition, everyone who pre-registers before August 30th will receive VIP status, including exclusive benefits and bonuses that will be announced in the coming weeks. The first early bird registration deadline is August 30th, 2026. Once early bird registration closes, the pricing will never be seen again. To secure your seat and VIP status, visit www.leadhunters.info/summit/pre-registration.pdf. Download the early bird registration form, complete it, and return it as instructed. All pricing, VIP benefits, terms, and event details are outlined on that registration form. If generating more leads, attracting better clients, and accelerating business growth are important to you, don't wait. Secure your seat now while the deepest discounts and VIP privileges are still available.